Clemson's season is spiraling. We'll talk about it right here on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked on Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And to the everydayers out there, we salute you. Thank you for tuning in. You know how we do it here, Monday through Friday, exclusive Clemson content all throughout the week. And if you're new to the show, well, welcome in. We're glad to have you. Hope you hit the like and subscribe button if you like the video, which I'm sure you will. 75% of you right now are not yet subscribed, so make sure you do that so you never miss another episode. Speaking of this episode, today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda Move and Be Moved. Obviously, it's a difficult time right now to be a Clemson fan. It seems as if the team can't get anything to go right. Everything that you could expect to go wrong really has gone wrong outside of, unfortunately, or I guess you could say fortunately, the punter. About the only thing that's not broken is the one thing we thought was broken. This has got to be the nightmare scenario. And as you remember earlier this summer, I did nightmare scenarios, and this was not on the list of nightmare scenarios for me. This is more worse than a nightmare, if you will. Clemson is 1-3, first time since 2004. Joel Klatt recently came out and said the team is an utter failure. And that's coming from someone who's not just a hobbyist like myself or a podcaster or a pilot. You know, this is a guy who played football, who calls football games, knows what good football is, and has said that it is an utter failure. Reese Davis, also from, college football game day and things like that, he said they play like they don't even care about each other. Sadly, I can understand where they're coming from, and I can't really tell you or fight for the reason why they would be wrong. In a lot of ways, it does feel like what they're saying matches up. Joel Klatt admitted, that his coldest take ever in his history of being an analyst has got to be his preseason prediction of Clemson winning the national championship. In his words, he said, something is broken at Clemson, period. And the thing that's even crazier is that Joel Klatt can't even really explain what's going wrong with the team and why it's going wrong, considering they had so many returning starters and potential first-round talent. And I'm as shocked as anybody else. It doesn't really make sense to me why top to bottom, out of 22 players, it's hard to say who's really giving you full effort or who deserves a starting spot. But I tried to think about who could be those guys that you feel as if are starters, are power 4 level starters. Well, we do know on the defensive side of the ball that Avion Terrell is still doing really well. We've seen film of him doing really well. We're starting to be a little bit concerned, or if not already concerned, with Ashton Hampton and his hands. He's constantly getting flagged for pass interferences and, looking in the backfield. And so he's playing extremely aggressive and getting hurt for it. Ricardo Jones, I wouldn't say he's not giving you effort, and Ronan Hannafin. Those guys are giving you effort, but then you're kind of concerned about talent level. But for me, with the secondary, it really ends up being more of a root, like kind of a symptom. It's a symptom of the root cause. The secondary is being put in man-to-man coverage with one player deep, cover one, or no players deep cover 2, or excuse me, cover 0, and basically forced to be out on islands against guys that, that works. I mean, even Brent Venables does that type of aggressive defense, but it only works if your front 7, or in this case, front 6, really can get to the quarterback and disrupt the quarterback's timing and really, fluster the offense. Right now, we can't really say that Clemson's defensive front is doing any sort of flustering of opposing offenses. It doesn't seem as if anybody on the Clemson defensive front is scaring anybody else out there. Now, the games they've played so far, they've lost 3 out of 4, and they really haven't looked that good all around on defense. They started out maybe okay at the beginning of the season, and then progressively have gotten worse and worse. What has Tom Allen really fixed? Can you answer that question for me? What is Tom Allen at this point really fixed? If anything, it seems as if any of the adjustments that he's made have made the team worse. What has Chris Rump and Nick Eason fixed or improved on this defense? Well, most of those players that you're seeing have gotten worse. So there's a concern from a position coach standpoint. And I know there's rumors out there about when you go back and look at, like, say, Nick Eason, every team that he leaves gets better against the run or on the defensive line than before he was there. So there's a concern there that while he is a Clemson guy, and that he is giving his best effort, there's something wrong there where the teams are getting better as he leaves. So I'm concerned with the position coaches up front for Clemson. They don't seem to be helping the team get better. I'm concerned with Tom Allen. It doesn't seem that his scheme of the 4-2-5 really is helping the defense be in the right positions when they need to. Have they tackled better? You can't really say that. You're seeing problems from all the way from the front line all the way back. We used to brag about Ronan Hannafin getting a lot of tackles, but the problem with that is that that's your safety. You don't want your safety having all the tackles compared to the rest of the team. You're going to get your linebacker most of your tackles. That'd be the goal. You don't want your safety to have more or equally up there. But what has Tom Allen improved on this defense? Right now, we don't know. Overall, total defense, they're not any better. They're actually worse than we've ever seen. And, it starts from the line. Will Helt, maybe the only bright spot that I don't have a lot of complaints about. You don't really know. There's a rotation of defensive tackles. You really don't like Vic Burley, who is a 5-star, and you really don't ever hear his name get called as far as doing anything significant. Stephylan Green is a little bit better. And DeMonte Capehart, who you thought this would be his contract year to get in the NFL and show what he can do, is really not impacting the game at all either. Peter Woods is at least impacting in double teams. But as you can see, if you go back and watch film, there's a problem with his range. He's not able to get to from side to side as quickly, or able to wrap up anybody if they go around the sides. And I think that goes back to the fact that there was some concerns about his length, his arm length as a recruit. And now we're seeing it. And then you got TJ Parker, who is probably the worst offender of all of them. If he does get to someplace, he's there late, and he usually is getting roughing the passer or close to being a roughing the passer. So he's just not, his speed is not there. So it starts from the front, and then the back. You've got Wade Woodaz, supposed to be a leader on the team, missing tackles up and down. And then you have Sammy Brown, who, is a bright spot, but still not always where he needs to be. And then, as I mentioned, the secondary, Avion Terrell would be the one bright spot there. So it's not a unit. It's not a team as a whole. It's really just one or two players. So how do you explain it? Well, for me, it is, I'm concerned at this point that the coaching staff is not able to put this defense in the right position to be successful. And then on top of that, it's their ability is being hindered overall. And so they're just regressed. They've regressed talent-wise, and they've regressed coaching-wise. They're just not getting better from both fronts. If you had any doubt in the state of the program, you can probably still have more doubt because there was a big decommitment from this week, and we'll talk about it right here on Locked on Clemson. Hey, it's almost the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most, and let's break it down. For Miami, and I will not do Clemson this time, I will do Miami. Ruben Bain Jr. delivered in a big way, going off against Florida for 10 pressures, and Pro Football Focus gave him a 92.4 pass rush grade against Florida with 29 pass rushing snaps. Did a great job. And honestly, Clemson doesn't play Miami this year, but he is one of the bright spots for the ACC so far in 2025. And just like Ruben Bain Jr. delivers for Miami, DoorDash delivers for you on Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And you know I've told you I love the app because there's so many different ways you can get in on the action. You can do different player prop bets. You can also build in a same game parlay and put things together to where you can make your winnings even better and your chances even better. Or you can jump in on live action even during the game. So while it's unfolding, you can see what's going on. And you know I've told you I love the research site they have because I'm not that big on baseball, but when I watch a baseball game, I want to check out and see what plays are out there for me. And the research helps me make a educated decision. So it's quick, it's fast, it's easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more throughout the season. So are you ready to play? Download FanDuel today by visiting FanDuel.com and get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Continuing the episode, wanted to talk about a commitment. I don't normally do recruiting here because, I have lost a lot of love for recruiting because it's not so much recruiting as much as it is just who you're paying more than other people. But Clemson did just get their first decommitment of the 2026 recruiting class, and it did go public this week. 4-star edge rusher Drake Quinn is now more than likely no longer going to be a Tiger. And honestly, it could be the beginning of something bigger, as we hope it's not, but it could be. Drake Quinn from Beaufort, Georgia, a 4-star edge, flipped after really visiting Tennessee on September 13th. And we kind of knew this was going to happen because he visited the Volunteers. He came to Clemson during the LSU loss, but he visited the Volunteers on September 13th, and it was all public knowledge that he was there, but he was still committed to Clemson. And we know that that's a no-go for Dabo Swinney. And one of the things that I actually believe that it's not hurting recruiting, it's not hurting the team at all. It's just I do like that Dabo has a strict, policy with this because being committed is being committed, and they have, basically saved a spot for you. So Clemson's strict no visit policy while being committed was definitely broken. And it's unfortunate that he didn't go ahead and decommit before he went there. But the way it seems is that they possibly had to let him know that that was not going to fly. And so now he is no longer committed to Clemson. Tennessee was a big factor. Texas also a big factor for him. and he originally picked Clemson over them this summer. Is it a sign of more things to come? Well, it could be. You know, a lot of fans want to chalk this up to the fact that Clemson is doing bad, but I believe that this was in the works well before this loss. And Clemson, you know, we're talking about 2 weeks ago when he went to Tennessee. So that's a concern that we're seeing right now, is that this was allowed to go on for so long. It hurts their defensive line depth. I mean, right now at edge rusher, you know, they have a current edge of J.R. Hardrick, who is a 3-star, but the position group is, struggling, and it's been struggling for many years, going back to, the time where Lemansky Hall was there, and it's just kind of seems as if he was struggling to recruit as well. Clemson's defensive front is struggling this year, and can you blame anybody for wanting to be a part of something, or maybe not wanting to be a part of something that looks like the way it looks? And that's the really thing that frustrates me the most, is that it just is so bad from all the different directions, at all the angles. And there's really only like a handful, maybe not even a handful, half a handful of guys that you can feel like, okay, these are guys I can trust and that are going to do the right thing and that are going to play their hardest and play their best and beat their opponent. That's where it really worries me, is that it could signal loss of confidence across the board in what Clemson is doing and what the state of the program is. You know, if you start to crumble from recruiting, which Dabo has always said is his number one priority, honestly, it's too much of his priority. But now, if you're not even doing well at the one priority you have, then you're going to lose momentum fast, and you're going to lose your depth and your ability fast. This could have a ripple effect across other players, because the fact of the matter is that these guys want to go in and feel like they're getting better, feel like that, especially the freshmen. One, if they don't already want to play early, they want to come in and feel like they can get developed properly and get to the NFL and make even more money, maximize their potential. But they also want to play around players that are good. And right now, it's really hard to see what Clemson is doing at all. Their personnel seems to be taking a step backwards. Dabo really hurt his case. If you look at it, his response post Georgia Tech and then now losing again was possibly the worst combination of things that could happen for him. While I do agree with a lot of the things that he said, and then I do believe he should be confident in the fact that he is a winning coach, he is not a proven high-level elite coach in the past 5 years. He's not been able to replicate what he was able to do. And honestly, we were shocked that he was able to do it twice. We were shocked that he was able to do it and go to the playoffs 5 years, 5 or 6 years in a row, right? So it was really above and beyond any sort of expectation that anybody would have had for a team at Clemson to continually be a playoff powerhouse like Dabo had made. And unfortunately, after, switching off to the next quarterback in DJU, while they still continued to win, they started to lose their identity and get worse and worse. And we've seen this where this team and Dabo has been allowed to build everything really the way that he wanted to do so. And he's kind of made his bed, if you will, with exactly the way he wanted to build the team. So everything that's happening for this team, honestly, is a result of just him having full reins to do everything. I mean, this entire program, top to bottom, support staff and everyone, is all Dabo Swinney hires or influencers or closely related people. And so it is a Dabo world over there. And that's okay. He's earned that. But unfortunately, it's not producing results anymore. And really, if you look back, post Trevor Lawrence, the team is just constantly getting worse. And we never would have thought DJU was a year where it would be better than this. But that's where we're at right now. So while I'm not shocked that Drake Quinn decommitted, and while I am worried about it, at the end of the day, Clemson has got to reset with the players that they already have. Because what's going to fix Clemson now in the world that they're in, or at the level that they're playing, is getting new players that can impact your team immediately. We'll talk about how and where Clemson goes from here in the final segment on Locked On Clemson. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is the big 23-yard pass completion from Tristan Smith from Cade Klubnik down into the red zone against Syracuse. Now, it wasn't one that put points on the board, and, it wasn't one that really won the game or anything. But the reason why I picked it is because it is a player who we've heard all offseason has been wanting to prove himself, has been so has this huge feeling of being blessed to be able to play at Clemson University, to be able to be at a university that has so many more things to offer him. And he wants to do his best because of what Clemson has provided him in that opportunity to play, being a transfer portal player from Southeast Missouri State. And every time you see him out on the field, while it hasn't always worked out for him in the best, he is trying his hardest to do what he can do best, which is catch the ball and get extra yards. And he did so against Syracuse. And it really riled up the crowd. And it showed that maybe there is a lot of belief and faith and a good culture behind the losses. And maybe there are players that are willing to move the game forward if the coaches will just trust them. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Real talk. How did Clemson get here? Where does Clemson go from here? Clemson fans aren't just upset or frustrated or angry or whatever emotion you want to say. Really, we have to admit we're bamboozled. We feel hoodwinked. We're shocked. This is uncharted territory. And to be honest with you, it is scary to think about what is the future for Clemson. It's not just about one season, because this was supposed to be the culmination of multiple seasons of development, and is now crashing and burning and is a disaster. The team has issues everywhere. The quarterback has gotten worse. So is Taj Boyd helping Cade Klubnik get better? There is no proof that that is the case. Is Garrett Riley helping Cade Klubnik get better? There is no proof that is the case. Is Cade Klubnik improving or is he regressing? There is proof that he is regressing. Wide receivers, are they improving? Well, Tyler Gresham has the ability, at least the talent, to bring in really good wide receivers. But are they improving? Are they able to do what they need to do? Are they still dropping balls a lot? They're dropping a lot of balls, a lot of passes. And a lot of times, though, you can't blame them too much because the quarterback just can't see them at all. The one person that has to touch the ball every offensive play is the quarterback. And for whatever reason, he's all they got. offensive lines in complete, utter dysfunction. Can you say that Matt Luke has improved this offensive line? Well, he's just got to get better players. Well, we know what I've told you from last segment. The old way of doing it, where you get your better players from high school, is not fast enough. It is no longer quick enough to be able to keep up with your competition. While you're sitting around developing guys for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, your other opponents are just replacing them with guys in the portal that should already be ready to go. Whether or not they're better or not, whether or not they have a ceiling or not, the fact of the matter is they're ready to play. And what we've seen is, wouldn't you like to have some of those guys? I mean, they're playing better even than Clemson's defensive line. Clemson's defense is still getting gashed. Can you say that Tom Allen is improving the defense? You really can't say much at all right now with this team. All of the position coaches have a huge question mark over their head. The running back room. Why is CJ Spiller only using one running back ever? Again, 2 years in a row. When is this team going to hold their coaches accountable? When is the head coach going to hold his coaches accountable? I don't know. We know how we got here. We know how we got here. And it is by allowing everyone you trust to not hold the standard. I mean, it is just that. The fact that Dabo doesn't know until after the game who gets how many snaps and what just shows you that he's allowed his position coaches to make those decisions, and they haven't shown you that they can really be trustworthy. They're not helping this team get better. And some of these hires that you've made have been a huge mistake, if you really think about it. So complacency is real, I think, from a position coach standpoint. They're not improving these players. They're getting worse. And to me, it starts with the coaching staff, but it also goes with the talent as well. They should have been getting more talent and not only resting on the developmental side. You have to have your developmental side. Yes, you have to go get freshmen from high school and work through them and build them up year after year. You have to have that. That steady flow is true. But if you're not getting the average that everyone else is getting in the portal, you are behind. I told you this a couple of weeks ago after the first loss, that the portal average in the top 10 of college football is 14 new players a year. So some teams need more, some teams need less, depending on how successful they were. We're seeing that those players that are on the development side are just, they've hit a ceiling and they've regressed. And so the only way to refresh quicker is to go through the free agent side, which is the transfer portal market. Unfortunately, this is not just a Clemson team that has a bad day or a bad week. What we're seeing is that it's more than even just a 1 week area. You know, you'd be okay if you said, well, you know, this defense, they're just not that great against, stopping the pass, but they're great stopping the run. Or maybe they're not so great stopping the run, but they're good stopping the pass. You can't say that for Clemson at all. In either way, Clemson's offense, you could say, man, they're a really good running team. They're just not that great passing. Well, the unfortunate thing is they probably are a pretty good running team, but they have built themselves as in a spread offense that needs to be able to pass the ball significantly. And what they're trying to run on offense and defense is not aligning with the strengths of their team, whether it be scheme or whether it be players that they're choosing. The team is all over the place, and it's not just one thing. So the CEO role is not working right now for Dabo. He's got to figure something else out. Fans are noticing. I mean, it's not just the Lightning that caused nobody to come back to the Syracuse game. It's not just the Lightning. They never had the lead in that game. And so Clemson is getting run over, and they're going to continue to spiral outward or downward until massive changes are made, and changes in the fact of you've got to admit that some of these position coaches are just not living up to what they should be doing. And maybe they're just in over their head. Maybe they're great people. They're all former players. But let me ask you about former players. Do you trust former players to be telling you the hard facts? Do you trust former players to get in your face and say, this is not right? Or what do you expect more from former players? You probably expect more of yes men. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Swinney. Yes, sir, Coach Swinney. Yes, sir, Dabo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know? And if that is the case, which this is really all just assumption, but what do you expect from players that are former players, a whole staff of former players, you know? And I'll tell you this, Cole Stout doesn't need to be anywhere on this team. You know, he was no good as a quarterback. And I haven't had any proof that he's helping this offense at all. Why are we keeping players that struggle to be good players? You know, there's so many smart, bright minds out there that you're only going to pick from players that wore the uniform for you. You're missing a lot. You're missing a lot. I can see it from heavy recruiting roles where you might want guys that are former players to recruit. That would make a lot of sense. You want guys that loves Clemson to go out there and recruit for Clemson. But when it comes to developing talent and positional coaches and analysts out there, it's time to make changes there, in my opinion. You know, there's just too many people, in my opinion, that are just okay with saying, yes, Dabo, yes, Dabo, yes, Dabo. And I'm not saying be disrespectful to Dabo Swinney at all. But yes men are being dishonest. You know, it's time to be honest and say, hey, you know, these guys, either these players are not living up to the standard or these coaches are not living up to the standard. It's got to be one or the other. You don't go from, as Joel Klatt said, a team that was poised to be a national championship team to an utter failure and there be no real problems. We just like who we have. We feel like we have a good foundation and we're just, you know, this was just a down year. Yeah, everybody has down years. But again, it's not just one thing. Name one area outside of one, or you can name maybe one or two or three players, but name a position group that you feel that you have the utmost confidence in right now. I'll wait. So there is a problem that is not being addressed. And as Mickey said on the radio, how many times do you see a player make a mistake or have multiple penalties and get patted on the helmet when they come off the field or don't even get taken off the field at all? You know, when's the last time you seen Dabo Swinney chew out a player? I mean, they're not playing well and we're not seeing anybody get chewed out. So there's a problem there. I mean, it really is. Fans need to embrace and rush and embrace for the rough 2025 that's ahead. I put you out there at an 8-4 team. You still have that at play, but it's going to be extremely difficult. Going forward, you'd have to win out to be 9-3. It's looking more like you'd be maybe a 7-win team if you can make it through that. I'm still holding out hope for 8 wins, but there has to be some really, really serious talks from the staff to figure out what they can do this year. For next year, they've got to stop leaning so much on developmental players and start getting immediate impact players in the portal because everybody else is doing it. You have to at least stay with the average, and the average is 14. So if you don't bring in 14, 3 is not enough. 3 and only using 1 is not enough. So you got to bring in more than that. It's not just us fans being spoiled. And that was a huge mistake for Dabo to come out and position it that way before the Syracuse loss. It is not about Clemson fans being spoiled. It is sheerly about the fact that we want to see a team that acts like they know how to play football. Even if they lose, you want to feel like you're losing by the skin of your teeth. You know, you want to feel like it was just one mistake. You keep selling the idea that it's one mistake, but with our eyeballs, it doesn't look like one mistake at all. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. Thank you again for the everydayers for sticking with me all the way through to the end of the show. And hey, don't forget, on Locked On, we have Fire TV partnership, and there's a show called College Football Kickoff. It is a great show, and if you go to College Football on Fire TV, I have my Fire TV stick. You go there, and it's like every Locked On channel you could possibly want, including ours here at Locked On Clemson. And then it has the College Football Kickoff show. You get Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12. You get two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson. You get former college star Jesse Holley and local experts like me who come in and give our take during the week. A college football preview show that only Locked On can do, and it's really, really well done. The studio is awesome. Check out College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And as always, Tiger fans, hey, we don't have a game this week, but I will see you tomorrow, and we'll see you next week. And as always, we'll see you at the top of the hill.